I will not let anyone delay or dilute the peace process because it is possible and we have to do it.
Mr. Minister, we've heard now from the Minister of Jerusalem and the Minister of Defense, both of whom seem to have a different outlook that you have on the peace process and two-state solution.
This is why I came here.
And I didn't have the courage to introduce that in your introduction. Could you share with us how you believe the government can contain the stability that you think it needs in light of what I've just suggested?
Well, you know, when you create coalitions, you create a coalition because with people that generally agree with each other, but not on every detail. If we have agreed with each other on every detail, probably we would be in the same party. Well, sometimes it doesn't even happen in the same party because I'm following American politics. But basically, there are different views, but you also have, when you're creating a coalition, you also have the agenda of the coalition. And the agenda of this coalition is very clear. Prime Minister, as I was saying, the Prime Minister stood up on the first day of this, actually he was sitting down on the first day of this coalition, and he talked about the goals of this government, and he said, we're going to work on the peace process according to the two-state solution. And then he repeated that in the Knesset, he repeated that in the UN, he repeated that in the White House. He actually repeated that almost every time he saw a microphone. So this is the agenda of this government, and Yesh Atid is, let's say, the 19 spears that this legion is a legion of 19 spears that is protecting this agenda, and this is what's going to happen. There's always a possibility that after we'll pass the next or third or the next stage or the one after it of the peace process, there'll be some changes within the coalition. But right now, as I was saying, this is a very proactive government, and I think it should keep on working with the same partners. And by working, I also mean working on the peace process.
But you also said Israel must not yield an inch on security. So could you please clarify if the Palestinians are not prepared to agree to what the Prime Minister and your government deem to be essential for Israel's security, where does that leave you?
David Schimmel, to put it a little bit differently, you say the Palestinians have to make major painful concessions as well. Could you describe what would be the minimum painful concessions they would have to make in order to satisfy you?
Well, let me first say that whatever it is I'm answering both questions is going to be half-baked because we are in the middle of a negotiation and you don't want to show them your cards too early. And we made a decision when this negotiation started that the only one person is going to say what's happening inside the room is Secretary Kerry. And surprisingly enough, we kind of kept this decision up until now. And of course, I don't want to be the first one to break it. Of course, there is the difference of opinions about the security interests of Israel, about other issues. And this is why it is a negotiation. If there was an agreement all aboard, probably we won't be sitting there for months and months and talking about it. There is understanding within the Israeli coalition about things that we feel is non-negotiable. There is understanding on the other side. Let me remind you, these are two parties that know each other very well, that have been living with each other for 40, 50 years now. So there are no big surprises there. And and the negotiation in ways is not about the details. It's about hate and fear and mistrust and years of bloodshed and a lot of bad memories. And you have to overcome this. And this is why it is taking so long. But the Palestinians understand, for example, that Israel will not let others deal with its own security. We're not going to try. I mean, I have all I cannot honor more than somebody, I don't know, like the American Marines, some prefer, but you know, we're going to trust only Israeli soldiers when it has to do with our security. So there's a lot of issues there that are technical. And this is why we're negotiating. And yes, we will not yield an inch, but yes, it's a hard negotiation, and it has to be kept inside the room as it is now. So I'm sorry, it's half of an answer, but I think it's best for the negotiation that I will keep it a half answer.
I'm Joel Sperrigan from the Jewish Institute for National Security Affairs. Everyone in this room wants peace as much as you do. How do you deal with the reality that Gaza is ruled by Hamas, that Hamas is opposed to the existence of Israel, and that, for example, would you insist that Hamas sign on the dotted line or there be no agreement? And assuming you have an agreement, what if Hamas is elected in the West Bank, as is certainly possible?
Well, first of all, we're not dealing with Hamas and we will not deal with Hamas. Hamas is not a government. It's a terror organization and should be treated as such. And obviously, this is not the people we're talking. We're talking to the PA, and the PA is the only body that is allowed for us to represent the Palestinians, and the international community agrees with us. So, and when I said we will not yield on the security interests of Israel, I meant that the day after this will be signed, it will be a separation. You know what, when you talk about peace, then you talk about something that is important but a bit amorphic. When you're talking about separation, you're talking about the physical truth of being away from them and them being away from us. This is the whole idea. So I'm not going to deal with the question who's going to rule the Palestinians the day after. What I want is to make sure that the Palestinians are on one side and we are on the other, and Israel is on the other. So that's my answer to you.